and a happy Monday to happy Monday. I hope you guys are well and welcome to Rumbi Uncensored. Yo, I just want to say shout out to everyone, and if it's your first time, please do a favor and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you ring the bell because it is so important. Every time I'll be live, you'll be notified immediately. And I want to say shout out to everybody, my regulars. Come over. I want to have a conversation with you tonight. Last night, I can tell you, 6.5 hours, people were live on Twitter discussing, the relationship between Nelson Chamisa and Watchman Mapfumo. I want to ask you a question. Do you think for the sake of peace and progress in Zimbabwe, it is wise for Nelson Chamisa to reconcile with these three guys? I'm not talking about politics, but reconciling as brothers and sisters. I want to hear your thought, because this was literally the topic that they were pursuing. Mutakoze, it's good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. And I have Sylvester. Come over, guys. Let's have a chat. Mungoni, good to see everybody. There's Isabel. Shout out to you. Can I tell you why I always mention the people? Because they're special. You know, the moment that button rings and you are here, it really means a lot. I appreciate you so much. So like I questioned you before, do you think it's wise for Nelson Chamisa to literally link with the guys and say, hey, let's have a conversation? I'm saying for the sake of progress, because this question was literally exhausted. I can tell you Twitter is on fire today. What can we say? This is the Zimbabwe that we're in right now. We always have these arguments all the time and fights unnecessarily. But, there's one thing that stood out for me last night that came out where I hope what you want to say, the problem that we have in Zimbabwe is ZANUified. Well, very importantly, Zimbabwe is ZANUified. And some people ask, what does that really mean? It simply means that we have adopted toxic and evil systems that were set since pre-1980 and then post-1980. Now, Zimbabwe don't even know like the normal, lifestyle, the normal behavior. Everyone is simply hating each other. And one thing that I said at that time, I was literally the first person, they were said, can you ask a question? I said, I want to ask a simple question. And my question was, is it okay for us as a Zimbabwean people to actually do away with elections? For the sake of healing, love, unity, because we seem to be having a problem. Every time it's an election mode and there's no development in the country, our people never rest emotionally, physically, and spiritually. There's always hatred rubbing against each other. We are losing trust. We are literally losing families. So how far can we go? We have kids that are orphans because they have lost their parents. Some are here today, they're sick. Some people injected poison. You never know how long they're going to live. My question is, until when we are going to say it is enough? You know what I mean? Is it not wise to say, let's push away elections aside and look face to face to one another, sit around the table and really discuss and ask each other, what type of Zimbabwe do we really want? And now I've got respect for Ngube and Temba Mliswa, because I remember they said it when they were having an interview, that it's time for us to actually have a referendum, because these elections seem to be manipulated. They bring so much anger, they bring fight all the time. Push that away. You know what I mean? Then select or appoint the right people to do the work, especially ministers. Then members of parliament, we can vote for them, choosing those that the society really think can represent them. Because I know a lot of rural folks were complaining. They only see members of parliament when they actually campaigning. After campaigning and get their position, they will never hear from them again. And that kind of system, that is wicked and evil and pathetic. For any person who does that, it is pathetic and evil. And those people need to be stopped. They are not needed in parliament. And at the end of the day, majority of them just come to sleep. They do absolutely nothing. And I can see people pursuing the blue line. I want you to drop the blue. If you are supporting Nelson Chamisa like I do, just drop your blue laughs, please. Because let me tell you, I'll support Nelson Chamisa till the end. And I mean business. And I also have seen some of my brothers who are supporting, President Emerson Mnangagwa a state term. And apparently I've heard that President Emerson Mnangagwa is going to literally, move around Zimbabwe, thanking citizens, in pursuit of a third term. And on the other side, there are people in ZANU-PF who are saying, not in our lifetime, third term won't happen. Who knows what? We are all watching, we are following all the stories. I can tell you it has been really a long night. Very, very long night. Unbelievable. Okay. Now, guys, can I just say shout out and have respect for Mazibabai Sanduko? I want to send some love and respect to Mazibabai Sanduko because, guys, Mazibabai Sanduko and we share one, and most of you actually, similarities is we are very loyal supporters. When we support someone, we mean it. And I know y'all do exactly the same. You came from the yellow movement, you realized that it was chaotic. We all shifted. And now people are anticipating that there's going to be a blue movement. And trust me, I want to say shout out to Mazibabai Sanduko. And by the way, while I'm sending some shout out to him right now, I want to play a video where he stood firmly of his support for Nelson Chamisa. Honestly, respect for Mazibabai Sanduko yao. Respect for him. So yao, take a listen, please.
Takabatira mkomana zvinhu zvinofamba saka ivo vachamisa vakambogara nemiri pasi kukutsanangura kuti onai madzibaba zvaitika mubato iri nepfungwa dzavo kuti ndafunga kuti regai ndichisiyana nebato iri nditange blue movement.
Mukomana handisati ndawana mukana wokutaura napresident Chamisa because munhu akawandirwa muzapane zvino zvekuti dzongo kana kuti ndivafonere so ndinonzwa kubatikana because munhu achiri nepressure.
Alright.
But chavanenge varonga ivo semusoro wechitima ingwa ndambokudza iwa ndikati vakati 10 left ndiri ku10 left vana vezimbabwe pakanzi 10 right napresident Chamisa 10 right mukanzi 10 left 10 left because mukomana ari kuziva munhu akazodzwa ka ari kutoziva ramangwana redu ari kutoziva zvekuronga ZANU-PF ari kutoziva zviri kuitika mumusangano saka tese ngati zvakungoda kufunga chete apachamboda power hungry kana greediness zvangoda kuti ngatimboteerere mukuru wedu kuti ari kurongei chichiri chaari kuronga mune ramangwana redu kubva izvozvi zvichienda mberi ngatirege kumumhanyira ngatirege kumumhanyira wepresident wedu ngatirege kuvamhanyira munhu ari kutoziva zvavari kuita
but tichitarisa chimwe chakakonzera kuti bato reopposition reTCC rinyanyosvika pariri pazuva ranhasi inyaya yamambo kuti bate yemastructures iyi kwakazongobudawo vachavangu vachiti inini ndine chigareji ndokutanga kushandisa simba iroro kuita anonzi marecalls. Hatingati here kublue movement iri kutangwa iyi kukasagadziriswa zvinhu zvakakanganisika kuTCC mucharamba makuno tichazonzwa futi kuti maakublack madzibaba naChamisa tozonzwa futi kuti
apa vakanyangira yaona manje apa tinoti vakanyangira yaona mukomana akutoziva tuntu wake akatoisa tudhoni twake akatogadzikira tuntu wake so dhondi wari ipapo because hanzi unodzidza kubva mumamistakes nopanzwa so president handivapindurire ipapo but ini semaziviro angu sekuziva kuri kuita vamwe vangu vari munyika yeZimbabwe nevari diaspora vari kutoziva kuti mukomana akatorongeka ende atoronga bhomba ipapo that's why muri kuona kusiya kwavakaita kukanda joka kwakaitwa kuZANU-PF naChavangu vasilenswa so zvasilensa ZANU-PF zvasilensa Chavangu kuva charamba vachitaurira nezvaChamisa Chamisa akati aiwa oika sisi yacho watina danga remombe wasiya danga sadanga kana danga remombe rasara risina mombe dzacho ukati une upfumi hauna upfumi munhu ane upfumi ndiNelson Chamisa because hatina mombe dzake unogadzira rimwe danga imasirwa danga handimuri kuona saka ini ndirongodzokera pakuti kusimbisa vanhu nekuonesawo vanhu kuti no semasapota tiri paground isusu totera munhu akarongeka handika totera munhu ane tsitsi nevana veZimbabwe munhu ane chiono chenyika kuti nyika iri kuenda kupi anobvisa nyika kubva madhaka kuenda kuti tipinde mukenani ndipresident Chamisa because dai ari mumwe munhu akatotengwa so akatonzi iwe Chamisa taakukupa mazimba kubhorodhero takupa maallowance takupa mazimari zvese unongochipuwa mari yako yakanaka pamwedzi akatotengesa struggle but ari kuramba zvese izvozvo president Chamisa animubona so munhu ane chido nesu dai vari vamwe vatinoziva vanoda mari ava kungana Welshman yana biti nananhingiva vava namafuma semotikari ndaida kupuwa nawinki neuya ungadiwa vatotambira nemari dzandaida kupuwa dzia vangadiwa vatotambira because vanida mari havana basa nevanhu isu tikutoti ngatiite chido nevanhu because nyika iri kurwadza ikuti zvimwe nyika yakatsva chimagezese munhu hapasisina chichabuda mamindo hamusisina because zuva rarova hamukana yakanzi yanaya hapana chichabuda so inzara takarima so kuti tirongeke ngatiise president Chamisa because maminerals ari munyika kutaura kwandiri kuita anoraramisa nyika munzara matiri kusvika tabuda munzara tichirarama nemaminerals edu but ari kuiswa nevanhu 5-6 homwe maminerals anoraramisa mamillions ari munyika ari kutorwa nevanhu 4-5 so hatidaro manje saka ndikukurudzira kuti president Chamisa tikavapa mukana nyika ndozi nyika ikapirwa munhu ane tsitsi nevanhu maminerals acho anoshandiwa zvakanaka achabatsira imimi vana vezimbabwe maminerals iwai achachengeta imimi muchembere nherera nevasiri kuenda kumabasa muchawana mabasa tikaisa munhu ane tsitsi nevana vezimbabwe ndo zvatiri kuda isi chete
saka
You heard Mazbabai Shanduko. Can I tell you, Mazbabai Shanduko and I, and all of you, most of you, we are literally sharing the same like characteristics, loyalty. You know what I mean? Loyalty to the cause. It's not even about things, but it is to the cause to see Zimbabwe being free from all this mess that we are in today. That's the most important part. Honestly, I want to say shout out to Mazbabai Shanduko. I've got so much respect for this man. And with all that he's been through, remember you once been beaten up? Do you remember that? Arrested, tortured, but still came out so stronger. I want to send some respect and love for him. This is why I've always been saying there is no reason for us to hate one another, yo. I can see there are more than almost 150 people right now who just join us. Please do me a favor and make sure that you will like the live because we need to push algorithm so that other people can come through and also join us. It helps a lot. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. All right, so we're going to move on. So yesterday, they buried the president of Namibia. And do you remember that there was a conversation where people were asking, how old is really the president, Emmerson Mnangagwa? But you know what? He's looking really good. When you look at his face, there was a time someone posted something on Twitter, like the person that was actually Jacqueline. Jacqueline was the attorney for Xavier Kasukwire. She said, she wrote a tweet and just said Botox. Like she was kind of, say, is the president, injecting some Botox? I don't know. That was the tweet. He looks very good than the age because, I mean, people start asking because his speech literally was just focusing on that I'm going to send some, I'm really, mourning my little brother. And he's referring to an 82-year-old, the former, the president, the late president of Namibia, Ncube. And people start asking questions, so how old is the president, Emmerson Mnangagwa? And that conversation was something else yesterday. Now, Ali sent a message, he said, so the Namibian had to delete this post. So the Namibian paper had to delete the post because of how people were exchanging tweets yesterday, asking questions, how old is President Emmerson Mnangagwa? Can I say this? I think based on people's experiences, maybe that's why I don't really have a problem in terms of his age, as long as he can deliver. I have no problem. You can be 90, but the problem is our systems in Zimbabwe really need someone who can, like, make sure it detect nonsense. You've seen many times when the president is literally saying that, people are doing corruption there, some are doing corruption there, but because they know that he's getting younger by day, people take an advantage, So that conversation until Namibia said, little brother, this was the message that they send out. Namibian paper said, little brother, Zimbabwe's president, Emmerson Mnangagwa says President Hedge Ncube was his little brother and was helpful in fighting for the lifting of sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe. And on the other side, as ZANU-PF said, it's not really the sanctions the problem. And if you had people arguing, when you talk about sanctions, why do we have sanctions? It's like we have sanctions because there were sanctions that were on our people in terms of how ZANU-PF has been treating the Zimbabwean citizen. Because one of my brother literally sent out a tweet yesterday. He said that is ZANU-PF. He used to support ZANU-PF, but he left ZANU-PF, I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago, after he went through a lot. I mean, you remember the Bila issue and Lynch, and also he was fired as the minister because that was his brother. But he said sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe from Europe are regarded as evil and illegal. I agree. What about sanctions imposed on the opposition in Zimbabwe, e.g. ban from television or zero electoral reforms? Are these sanctions imposed on the opposition in Zimbabwe also evil and illegal? Because the president is saying he was grateful that the late President Ncube for Namibia, stood by him and to fight sanctions. But he said, okay, which is a great thing, but do you ever consider the sanctions that you place on our people in terms of, blocking them to have reforms? You saw the sham of an election. I'm a firm believer that every time you see your life going south, sometimes it's a time to reflect. It's time to reflect. In my own personal life, that's what I do. And when I see that I've done something wrong, I'm like, girl, you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay. You did wrong, so pay for it. Maybe God is teaching you a lesson. And I'm always go back to the Father. I said, I'm asking for mercy. Take me through this time of me, of my learning season. That's what they need to know. You can't just have sanctions. What did you do in order for you to be having sanctions? Is what you need to be dealing with. Not running away from the source or running away from underlying factors that may need your attention. That's what he was just referring to. Now, this tweet was the most heartbreaking tweet that was sent out by Jonathan Moyo. That was in 2020. But the reason why I'm going to this tweet, because it sets a foundation of what we're going to be talking about today, based on what was happening with Nelson Chamisa. So this tweet, very, very disturbing tweet, sent out by Jonathan Moyo, direct to the ruling party. He said, under international law, the primary responsibility of a government is to protect its citizens. Where a government fails to protect citizens, the international community has a duty to step in. Mnangagwa's rogue government has created an illegal Ferret Force to abduct, torture targeted citizens. Mnangagwa's abduction and torture force consists of ferret teams with operatives mainly from the CIO and MID that sometimes include CID officers from ZRP's Law and Order section. While ferret teams are now in every district, they are most active in Bulawayo, especially in Harare. Like I've always tell you that police in Bulawayo and Harare are different. Bulawayo, they're a bit, etiquette is really, really, really one of the reason why I respect Bulawayo police. They're classy compared to Harare are just jumping up and down. You don't understand. One little thing, arresting people, noise there, it's a mess. And he went on to say the main and in fact only purpose for ferrets, a self-given name after the 2017 coup, is to abduct, torture citizens accused of threatening and undermining Mnangagwa's authority, identified either by Isaac Moyo or Owen Mudha at the CIO or by General Thomas Moyo at MID. Structured as joint operations typically done by security forces around the world and previously overseen by JOC for state security operations, Mnangagwa's ferrets assumed institutional form on the back of COVID-19 lockdown, which became a de facto state of emergency. The search for the source of sources who leaked the information on the 60 million drug corruption scandal involving Auxilia Mnangagwa, his sons, and family cronies has turned ferrets in Bulawayo and Harare into animals with full backing from their CIO, MIDs, and bosses and State House. Ferrets ran amok after the 60 million drug corruption scandal became the fuel for the 31st July 2020 protest. Since the Harare ferrets are now the most active because they abduct, torture, orbit Masaraure, Joanna Mamombe, Maroa Netai, Cecilia Chimbiri, they must be exposed. In addition to Samson, already identified, the Harare ferret minus its MID component includes deputy head, Munkate, top left, which is giving the pictures, and then it's a Fidel Marume, top right, Brian Maguyu, top left, and Abraham Mudara Pasi, bottom left, all from the CIO. These are others. And I'm looking at the guys. My heart is breaking looking at these boys, my brothers, whom I think should protect the girls, women in our society, but they're saying they're part and parcel of abducting people, torturing them. These are allegations that are being dropped by Jonathan Moyo. He went on to say the Harare ferrets work around the clock with day and night shifts. They have countrywide lists of targeted citizens, seen as anti-Mnangagwa, thus subversive. For that reason alone, the ferrets are now a law unto themselves. Only an international judicial process can stop them. So he's suggesting that we should be approaching the international courts. That's Jonathan Moyo. He said Mnangagwa and his Gukrahundi cohort have created an illegal and unconstitutional ferret force to terrorize targeted citizens to enforce his power grab. It's tragic, public law and order must be the lawful enforcement of the institutional order to which the people have consented. Quite very sad, and he attached the Constitution of Zimbabwe. This is what I'm going to say to the people of Zimbabwe, that a politician coming into place, like the President Mnangagwa, he has got his term. Sometimes, the term limit can actually limit him, or death. Because at the end, all of us, we're going to die one way or the other. Or any other reason. It may be sickness. Who knows what? You know what I mean? We need to understand that we have a life beyond politics as a Zimbabwean people. We have a life. I can only imagine, I'm looking at these men. I'm sure they are fathers. They have children, girls or boys. They have wives. You go home as a father, you've killed, you've tortured someone else, someone's child, and you expect your children to live in peace. You expect them to have a better society. Does that mean that the moment we get into all these state institutions, we throw our brains out of the door? I do not understand. We don't think. Because if I expect to be treated well, I must remember the way I treat my partner, or the way I treat my family, the way I treat my brothers. You are here watching all those who will listen to this video, is the way I want to be treated. Because if we want to have a better Zimbabwe, I'm telling you, it's going to require us to work together and build it. A better Zimbabwe, a successful nation, is not going to happen accidentally. It's an intentional turn. We have to take actions to build that Zimbabwe that we want. So it flabbergasts me to see people who want a better society, but yet they contribute in sowing evil seeds. It's not going to work. We can still make money. We can still be business people. We can still be successful while we're doing right. There is no reason of injecting hatred. Hatred doesn't work. Hatred kills, it destroys. If we can hurt, like I always say, we can love. It is simply a matter of choice. There was really a very long conversation last night. 6.5 hours. People were live on Twitter. More than 1,000 people. And Hope Watching was addressing this people. He was answering some of the questions. He was having a talk with ANKO. There were things that were dropped there. Very interesting submissions that I think we need to pursue because they involved SADC. Why I'm so interested is because there were things that he dropped that it seems like he had exposed to what SADC was saying regarding the post-election, which I think we need to pursue as a Zimbabwean people, soberly-minded. I've realized that sometimes we get upset, we get swerved by emotions, and we don't apply critical thinking. But I'm a firm believer that we can resolve our issues if we understand that it just requires communication, and everything will fall into place. Communication. So I'm going to ask you right now that we are going to listen to this conversation, soberly minded. And I want you to contribute. Please say what you think, because what you think is going to be listened to. The Zimbabwe that we are in now is quite interesting because the people up there, which means most people in the government institutions, are listening to these talks, are also seeing your comments and get to understand what Zimbabweans are saying about the current situation in the country. But because you dropped the SADC mantra, I think it is so paramount that we pursue that conversation. Please take a listen to what some of his submissions were, or some of the things that people were saying.
You think we can go to Zimbabwe and say Mnangagwa now allow Nelson to rule with these people? He sends these people to us. Who are they? There is that issue. You have to understand the people that you're dealing with. And these are facts. That's why I'm saying I refer this fact. And I'm not from the Professor Mandaza. I was there. You have to understand.
But you, Madara, do they have to choose, for him, this one of the team, wasn't don't people right now, what else, what else can he do? That's the team, that he has.
I think the same question can be asked. Why?
Please, I just want to make sure. Are you guys listening? Can you all hear properly? Because if you can hear, please drop the hearts, blue hearts, like always. Because I need to know if you guys can hear me. Because people normally complain. We need to make sure, because we have changed some of our systems and our softwares, but we need to make sure we are all moving together. Please, let me know. Thank you.
Why Changirai chose that specific team to represent him why Mugabe chose his teams. Mugabe had younger people that he believed in, but when he chose those teams, he chose them on the basis of understanding, thinking in the region.
Thank
that
you.
If I send this one, they will respond this way. If I send this one, they have a relationship with him. So you must understand that in today's world, in SADC, it's being run by old people. So if you were to send my young brother Ostalos to Namibia, may the late president rest in peace. He was 82. If we were to send Ostalos, what kind of stories would he engage with Ostalos? Politics is about relationships. What we say on Twitter and we shout at each other and we say all these things, but at the end of the day, politics is about relationships. Uncle Jet, I want to tell you a story that we should have a space for after we finish this space and we discuss. I'm glad my brother Makomborero, we are now talking. I will talk to him. He understands what I'm talking about. If you want to relate to an individual, you send people that can relate to that individual. Do you think that SADC leaders would have walked into Zimbabwe and said, Tataura, these guys, you need to hand over power to Nelson Chamisa? With what you understand, with what you saw happening, do you think that was going to happen? I know we live in utopian worlds where we assume that things are what we want them to be. But do you see a world where someone like, for instance, Masisi has a relationship with ED which goes beyond ED's presidents. Masisi used to come for Christmas when he was deputy president of Botswana, and ED was deputy president of Zimbabwe, and Masisi would stay at Bradenkamp's house. I'm putting these things on the record so that young people learn. You stay at Bradenkamp's house because they didn't want Mugabe and Kama to know that these people are visiting each other. They are friends.
Very
you expect
interesting.
that guy to suddenly decide that, okay, no, Nelson must become a president. You need to understand the relationships that existed before this crisis that you need these people to attend to. The relationships that existed. It's important to understand these things. I'm saying these things because I can see some serious young people, like Makombore and others, who understand what I'm talking about. Masisi will never give way because Masisi is ED's friend before they even became presidents, both of them. Masisi used to come and sleep in
so was
house.
anything ever going to be coming out, from SADC? I mean, yes, they told us that, they've adopted, the reports, the election and, and stuff like that. So was anything ever going to be coming, from them?
I think what needed to be done at the time, which was not done, was for Nelson Chamisa and Triple C to create a crisis. You can't go to SADC and say, look, the election has been rigged, polling stations opened late, and what. We're going to have another space. In fact, we need to have other spaces and bring young people like Marco so that they also understand what's happening in the region at the moment. Elections are going to be rigged, my brother, not just the Zimbabwean one. And they're going to be rigged with impunity. And you expect those old Madalas to come out and say, oh, no, I can sit and talk to Hope and Marco about this election in Zimbabwe. Nelson needed senior people around him. You see, people like Welshmen, for all their weaknesses, people like BT and so forth, they are never a threat to Nelson, because Welshmen, BT, and Welshmen and Ncube and Tendai BT will never win an election on their own. It's a fact, and I've told Nelson this so many times that the gift that God gave you is that you are the one who can go through the line. But don't be afraid of these guys. They're ambitious, yes, but they are good to have as your lieutenants. If you send Welshmen to South Africa after a rigged election, which you couldn't because they had been pushed aside, if you send them to South Africa, Welshmen will not be speaking to Ramaphosa in English. They'll be speaking in another language. A South African language they choose, whether it's Zulu or whatever it is. That's a breakthrough to start with. Welshman's son is married to Zuma's daughter. That's another breakthrough that you have there. You can't throw away those people that have relationships with key countries that matter in making decisions for you. You can't. And when you look at people like Tendai Biti, for all, Tendai is not electable as a presidential candidate. He won't win. Tendai won't even win Harare East without the backing of Nelson. He won't. But there was no need to ostracize him. Keep him there. When there's need election Yabiwa, use him to go around the region talking. The relationship that the opposition in Zimbabwe has with President Hichilema of Zambia comes from Tendai. Tendai's PDP was in alliance with DA and President Hichilema's party. That's why you find that Musi Maimane was involved in all these people, and they were all working with Brandhurst. And those are the relationships. If I was Nelson, I didn't even need to worry about these people. I have the people, they're voting for me. You guys, go and do the donkey work. Go and deliver. But you see the supporters on Twitter, we come and fight, we call people names and this, but we don't know the bedrock of the politics in the region, what needs to be done. Do we even know Zimbabwe's role in what's happening in the DRC, where it stands with Rwanda, where Rwanda stands with Zimbabwe, where South Africa stands with Rwanda? We need to understand what's happening in the region, not be excitable about things and think that the world revolves around our candidate here in Zimbabwe. There's much more happening in the region, and we must connect to that.
Right. Okay. I still have got one more speaker.
Sorry, I hadn't finished my other question, please. If I may.
Only one question, please.
Yes, one question. Yes, but we've got less women, so...
Allow Uncle Jet, it's okay.
All right, I think I wanted that part. Right now, I wanted the part where he's talking about, if Nelson could have been, could have kept Washman, Tendai Biti, and Mapfumo, went and all the other guys. And he's also bringing a narrative that they could have played a huge role, especially when it comes to the issue of the rigged election, that when you're addressing elders, it's very important to be able to send elders. And elders can talk, because they can speak the same language. But it is 50-50, in my opinion. It is 50-50 because it depends on the agenda. Guys, how many people have seen Wende? I've seen Wende in SADC. I've seen him laughing, literally laughing at us. And I'm going to pursue that when I pursue Wendy's interview that is going to be having with HSTV. We're waiting for that interview. But I remember when saying he's at SADC, and he also tweeted that he was with another guy from SADC. That, Zimbabwe think that there can be a fresh election and in their dreams. Then I'm asking myself questions. Are you guys about Zimbabwe or you're about for personal interest? Because we need to look at a situation fairly and equally. It's a very good point that he's bringing, and I respect it very much. But we must never forget that if Washman, Tendai Biti, if they love Zimbabwe, they can go and meet SADC anyway, not because of Chamisa, but because they want a better country. It seems like people are just speaking around Chamisa and forget that, no, this is about Zimbabwe. It's not about Chamisa. Chamisa is an individual who is assuming the office, like anyone else can. Always pursuing the office. But our problems are bigger than Nelson Chamisa. Our Zimbabwean challenges are bigger than an individual. You know what I'm saying? Imagine I'm sitting here and say, no, I can't resolve the issue because I'm having a problem with someone. We have a family crisis. And I'm going to say, no, I can't resolve it because I'm fighting with my sister. No, I don't care about my sister. We have a family crisis. It's a Zimbabwean crisis, it's a Zimbabwean solution that is needed. So whether they are in a relationship with Nelson Chamisa or they are not, they should, if they love Zimbabwe, went to SADC. I was going to be so respectful. Yo, listen. I was going to be so respectful. Instead of seeing them fighting Chamisa and conniving or planning, plotting him to dethrone him or to destroy him, I was going to have so much respect for them if they could have said, you know what, it's fine. Nelson Chamisa maybe sidelined us, we cool, but our goal is to see Zimbabwe being a better country for all. We are going to pursue the SADC route ourselves. Maybe it's mentioning about Ibo Mandaza. Whom you know he championed petitions immediately after elections where he was saying we need to go to SADC. He's an elder. Okay, respect for Ibo Mandaza. He's done incredible work. They would take Ibo Mandaza. He also spoke about Atham Tambara. They would take Atham Tambara. They would take Wanatendebiti, Washmingwe as elders. And then go to SADC and say, guys, we are here. We need a solution in our country. Does that mean that if they are fighting with Chamisa now, they can't fight for Zimbabweans? Then that makes, for me, that's a red flag. We need a Zimbabwean solution, not a Chamisa solution. There's a difference. Then you don't love Zimbabwe. Then you don't love the people. That's where the problem is. It's a good idea. But again, for me, I'm here not because of Chamisa. As a matter of fact, I've told you before, I don't have Chamisa's number in my phone. I've never spoken to him personally, but he knows me, he's seen me when we're busy campaigning, but I've never spoken to him personally. Maybe he may be watching these videos and he can see me from a distance, but I've never had a conversation with him. I don't even have his number in my phone. I'm not here because of Chamisa. I'm here because I love you. I love Zimbabwe. Yo, I have aspirations, I have ambitions, I have dreams. I want to be closer to my family. I want to see my dad all the time. I want to be in Zimbabwe and run my businesses there. I want a functioning economy. I want to talk to my sisters. I want to trust my brothers and my sisters around me. I want to sit down and have lunch with someone where I know no one is going to put poison in my food. I want to find someone and they can deliver. I want to run my business across the country where I see people coming through and see young people. I want to go to schools, talk to young people and change their lives. I want to teach them about purpose. I want to see Zimbabwe as the most successful country. And I say worldwide. I want to see clean buildings. I want to see functioning roads. I want to meet my parents every weekend. I want to drive to Masvingo, see my daddy, and have lunch with them every weekend. I can do it. I want to fly from Harare to Kwekwe anytime, any day, any minute. That's the Zimbabwe I want. It has nothing to do with Nelson Chamisa. Nelson Chamisa is simply someone that I believe in, that he can be a leader that may work with me. But do not confuse the two. I mean, honestly, I think this whole thing that Hope was saying, people are saying he was simply campaigning. It was a PR for Tenabiti, Mapfumo, because he knows that the citizens are angry with them. So he's trying to sanitize their shenanigans. I cannot confirm or deny, but my point is, if they truly and genuinely love Zimbabwe, they can still pursue SADC. Nothing that can stop them from doing so. They can't stop just because of Chamisa. Does that really make sense to you? Then they're useless then, to me. They're useless. It does not make no sense to me. They are simply useless. Because we want people who are there to stand with Zimbabweans, not who have their own personal ambitions. That, to me, it means absolutely nothing. Now that the issue of the elders is being, is being dropped, with what pushing on that, Chamisa could have had all these elders. By the way, these are not the only elders that are with Chamisa. There are so many elders. You forget Wanatimbe. So many elders. So don't confuse us. Because Chamisa is saying something different. You heard him talking about how he is pursuing SADC. Bear in mind, Chamisa made it clear that he is not going to have a political party, but he's going to make sure that whatever he is focusing on is a Zimbabwean deal. It's a Zimbabwean thing. Guys, we want a solution for Zimbabweans. It's not an individual solution. As a matter of fact, the reason why people love Chamisa is because Chamisa is standing with the people. He's focused on having a solution for Zimbabweans, not for individuals, for Zimbabweans. This is where me and my brothers and sisters in ZANU-PF, we argue and fight. Every time I even heard the president himself reading his own condolences memo in Namibia, he said on behalf of ZANU-PF, and I'm sitting on the other side, I'm like, excuse me, sir, Mr. President, Your Excellency, on behalf of Zimbabwe, everything can be centered around ZANU-PF, which we are trying to assassinate, which Chamisa as well did not want to be part of. The issue of centered around a person. You keep on attacking Nelson Chamisa, but Nelson Chamisa said, no, the route I'm taking right now, or the route, for those who may have a different pronunciation, I want it to be a Zimbabwe solution. It can't be an individual solution. We don't want it to be a political solution. We are tired of politics. It should be a Zimbabwe solution. But Ruteno Matinyara, because like I said, I'm not a biased person, Ruteno Matinyara is known for being ZANU-PF as a hardcore supporter. And a shout out to him as a brother. I respect and I love him. Ruteno, shout out to you, man, brother. He said the issue with the current CCC opposition members. Wapo says that Chamisa created a CCC team of young people like Osalis Fadzai and promised Wusadak leaders would never take seriously. I think Wapo was simply echoing what I have been saying, that the opposition is a grouping of immature student unions, activists who can't be taken seriously by seasoned politicians. However, he advocated that Chamisa needs to depend more on elders like Bitiwo Shwingwe and Mutambara, who have the respect of regional leaders. I'm, however, not sure how true this is, because I don't think the current radicalized regional leaders, other than Hichilema, would respect Western puppets in a realigning global order. So, you know, like the Western puppet mantra, that is ZANU-PF always throw as a dedicated strategy. By the way, guys, in 2024, our politics has become so toxic that if you are not wise, you're going to be robbed into nonsense by many people. But a wise person, you pull back and you begin to use your mind to see who's wrong and who's right and who is trying to throw some confusion. Because some people will come in as if you are together, but they're just being used. They call them counterintelligence. You know, it's so toxic that people can be paid to do any messy. We are in this mess today as Zimbabwean people because of the counterintelligence individuals. Who are Zimbabweans? Who are our brothers? Who are our sisters? We have kids who are struggling to pay school fees, but they're doing the dirty work for politicians. Stupid and useless. You are just dumb. We want a Zimbabwe that functions for everybody, an economy that saves everybody. But brothers and sisters, yo, you are waking up there and be used to do the dirty work. Bring confusion, having ghost accounts. The worst thing that ever happened to Zimbabweans are ghost accounts. You call them counterintelligence. I call them counter stupidity. There's no intelligence in destroying your future. That's not intelligence. You're a fool. You can't be used to destroy yourself. Especially the young people. Yo, our elders have lived their lives, these people. President Mnangagwa has been a leader all his life. He's been in ZANU-PF leadership all his life. You know, since we got our independence. And here you are. You're in your maybe 30s or 20s. You already jump up and down and be messing up your destiny. Yo, some of you live with regrets. Because you're going to look back and say, what did I do with my life? Because at that time, you were supposed to be writing business plans. You were supposed to be planning, thinking about looking at your talents and gifts. What can I do to be better? And you were a bit bootlicking people. You're going to be ashamed of yourself in the next 10, 15 years. I'm telling facts. You look at your children, that because you spend all your time pushing toxicity, you are supposed to raise your kids well. Teach them about love, unity, success, education. But you spend your time looting, pushing agendas of evil. All of you, you're going to pay it hard, y'all. You're going to pay it hard. Unfortunately, you're going to pay it hard. You're going to pay it hard. And on. And I'm like, it's sad, like really, if they want to help Zimbabweans, they stop just because Nelson Chamisa sent people that are young. By the way, the people that I saw, moving around SADC, they were not young people. They were not. You just need to be wise, guys. There were so many countries that had issues that young people literally rescued them. In the words of my father, that is Father Zimbabwe. Father Zimbabwe? Joshua Ngomo. He said, even if we can fail to save this country, the young people will do so. We, the young people, can save this country by beginning to change the trajectory and culture. Instead of hatred, we are going to send love. Instead of going around in torture, we are going to go around and build each other. That's how we are going to build a Zimbabwe for everyone. It will take intentionality, actions, guys. Very important. Imagine me if I was sitting here and be screaming and bashing. Was I going to be building? No, I'll be just channeling toxic energy away. And before you know it, you become toxic. But if I'm channeling love, before you know it, you become someone who is loving. We need to be very careful. All these things that are being sent out is simply trying to push a PR campaign of confusing us. Guys, the SADC road that Chamisa is taking, let's support him. Let us support him until the end. Let it fail right in front of our eyes. I'm not going to listen to anybody who says, I've got £3 million in my account right now, and they tell that SADC is not going to work. I still believe in the power of leadership of the elders. If the elders can sit down and say, guys, we need to rescue our children, they will. We can't keep on pushing negativity. It's not right. This conversation was quite interesting, but I told you I want to pursue it for a reason, because we need to do away with lies that are being channeled out there. Take a listen, please.
Are led by elites. If you ask people that have read politics like Makumbara, they'll tell you, they are the elites. They lead. They can lead from behind and you won't see them, but all revolutions are led by elites. And what we didn't have in Zimbabwe, which is what the region now leaders mentioned as well to Igbo when I was there. Professor Mandaza was told that the problem that you have is your guy, where is his team? He must have a team. Where is the team? That's what Professor Mandaza was asked when I was there. Where is Chamisa's team? We want to see his team. There was no team. Where is the citizenry in all this? The citizenry needed to be mobilized. To mobilize citizens, you need to have a structured leadership. Now, when you mentioned it at that particular time, you were insulted because people didn't understand. But this is how these regional bodies work. I want to say something to people who are on this Twitter space. The Commonwealth, the EU, and I want to speak about the ones that I heard speaking about this. The Commonwealth, the EU, and President Chisano's election observatives. They complained, all of them, about one thing. They said we went to see Nelson Chamisa, he was on his own. How do we engage with a guy who's on his own? We go there, we are 7, and the guy is on his own. One of the ladies said to me, it's natural for human beings to have blind spots on certain issues. What if he has a blind spot on a particular issue that we have raised? How is that reconfigured to make sure that it does not underestimate or it does not cause problems for his organization? Again, it comes to the issue of having structured leadership. You can't go to a meeting on your own, and I'm telling you, I've named these organizations because they said I could name them. The EU, the Commonwealth, and President Chisano's observatives. They complained that there was no leadership structure for us to talk to. We were talking to one guy. Now, my sister, when you ask me about citizen duty, how does one guy then implement citizen duty and get the citizens to complain? You can't, because everyone else has been demobilized. The decisions are from one center of power. When you raise that issue, you are insulted. But the same people that are insulting you are the same people that are needing healthcare tomorrow. Same people that are needing jobs tomorrow. 95% unemployment, 95% loss in local currency value, highest inflation in the world, and you're trying to say to people, for us to be understood by the world, this is what we need to do. But the same people are not interested in what the world or how it works. They're saying, no, we want our guy to be in power. And you're saying to them, okay, we want our guy to be in power, but there are certain mechanisms that are put in place by the world in order for them to facilitate for our guy to be in power. Why do you think Emerson Mnangagwa has been energized to go for a third term? He's looking around himself and he's saying there's no opposition. The real opposition is coming from ZANU-PF. I'm sure you guys, you saw the ZANU-PF account. I saw it here, it was here, ZANU-PF Patriots. They put opposition to this whole thing, ANKO. They were like, no, that's not what the president said, and blah, 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 blah. Essentially, it's ZANU-PF opposing ZANU-PF. But we need the opposition to be the one that is at the forefront of opposing ZANU-PF and making sure that things are delivered. You know, when people like Marco, I didn't speak to Marco specifically, but I spoke to one of his colleagues when they skipped the country. I said, you represent the future of the country. You represent, I'm 52 years old, you know. I'm now in semi-retirement. I've got my pension. I've got my properties. I live well. But I said to the person that I had spoken to who had skipped with Marco, I said, but you guys, you are the future. I want to be able to live in Zimbabwe. Because even with everything that I have, I won't be able to live in Zimbabwe in peace. But if you guys are in power, I'll be able to live in peace. And that person said, so what do we need to do, Daddy Hope? I said, you've skipped the country, go and study. Because I did the same thing in 1994. And it has given me such a great life that I have today, even in the midst of walking on top of sewage in Zimbabwe. But I've been able to have a good life. And I said to them, go and study. This country will need people that are educated, so that we extricate ourselves from this mess. I hope to see someone like Marco 10 years from now being in charge. I'll sleep well at night in Murewa, and I'll be able to send people to say, Namunoza Minister Marco, Kutazina Mdara, Zinazinomira Mushe Kuno, Ndibatsirone Zakati. Because then she's not one Waganda Kuchikoro and Wakadzisa, they understand the struggles that we've gone through and all that. And that's all we're asking for. We are not enemies, Angojet. We are fighting for the same thing, but at times we just have different views on how we need to get to that point where we're supposed to get.
Agree. Thanks all for that. Just as right. Somebody inboxed me or bad news.
Okay, so he does have points, but one thing I want to be clear on is that there's definitely opposition. If there was no opposition, ZANU-PF won't be spending time trying to destroy them. There's definitely opposition, very strong opposition, but people just act like there's nothing. There is opposition because they are the people. How do they define a strong opposition? Does that mean that it's being defined by having Tendai BT and Washman Ncube? Because these are the only people that saw the struggle. These are the only people that misbehaved. Otherwise, it is intact. There are so many mature people, honestly, that may be willing today to go to SADC and sit down and say, hey, we have a challenge here. So many. I mean, elders, amazing people who are desperate for a solution. Who are desperate, I say. Desperate for a solution. And education is important. But we need also to consider those that may not have the access to actually be able to go abroad. And besides just being abroad, there's also something about being at home. It's not as easy as people think. You know, life is tough even abroad. I mean, every Zimbabwean has got a story to tell. what they face when they get into the diaspora. It's hard. We all have stories to tell. As far as I know Chamisa knows what he's doing. He may have his own flaws. He's not like a perfect person. But Chamisa has the heart for the people. This is why the people love him. And people believe that he can deliver. Honestly, if we had a free and fair election, Chamisa would be the president today. And it's not. So just because the wicked who are muzzling on innocent individuals, that doesn't mean that the person is weak. You know what I mean? You're using force, brutal force to hurt your own brother. Doesn't mean that you're a strong person. As a matter of fact, strong individuals don't have to use force. They use ideas. They prove to people that I know what I'm talking about. So for me, if we keep on bastardizing Chamisa by saying, oh no, he didn't have a strong team around him, oh, but he didn't have like a lot of people who'll be working with, we are simply saying things. But at the end of the day, we know the reality that's going down in the country. We know how many people have been hurt. Literally people that he works with. A lot. I remember young people were saying they were being abducted and they were being asked questions. What is Chamisa thinking? What is he saying? People are desperate to know what's in his mind, even when he's not saying anything. And I've never said Chamisa is perfect. And I never said that the president is a bad person. My point is, do you know what? We are just enemies among ourselves. Because one thing about politicians is we can all biting each other out here. And you can see them greeting one another and be laughing. And when I'm saying this, I'm actually referring to even the police, the army, every Zimbabwe, the CIO, whichever department you're referring to. We can bite each other, but these people, they can still see each other and laugh. When are we Zimbabweans going to introspect and say, as citizens, we need to start, breaking all these walls around us and understand that we are one people and we are pursuing one. Whether you're doing evil, you're pursuing peace. Whether you're not doing evil, we are all in pursuit of one thing, living well. So why can't we come together and find, a common ground and have solutions to our challenges? Because even if we talk of SADC, they look at us like these people are actually crazy. They have the solution. We are the most richest country in Africa. Almost 63 minerals. We are filthy rich. You can see by the way cars are being dished out. The country is rich. But there is just misunderstanding, lack of understanding on how to be able to make use of what we have to the betterment of our people. Selfishness, greedy community, just a greedy community that does not have an understanding to say, no, man, it's not about collecting. Do you know what hurts me the most? Most people that are collecting from Zimbabwe are not even Zimbabweans. They're just collecting. Did you guys saw the toilets that most of our people are using? If that picture that was circulating is correct, where people are saying Chinese are building actually colonial toilets for our people in our country. Do you understand that foreigners are coming to Zimbabwe? And by the way, like I said, if you're an investor, but treat our people with respect. Do you remember in Rwanda, when Kagame fired Chinese and kicked them out of his country because they were abusing his citizens? When are we going to put our citizens and our Zimbabwean people's lives first? So sometimes we need to remember that as much as we may want to analyze politicians, we must never forget that we are our own enemies by having brothers and sisters who are enemies to progress, who work tirelessly to make sure that Zimbabwe does not progress. And yet we want a better country. We just need to be honest with one another. Because Nehemiah, he also said that Ncube, Matebu, Shavangu sold citizens' votes and committed treason. Citizens must reject them. They are not worth anything at all. I completely agree. It's a matter of principle. It's one thing to be surrounded by principled people who may not be that much useful. But you can use them because you trust that they're principled. These people, and to me, they're unprincipled. And you can never trust them. Do they need Chamisa to appoint them to go to SADC? Or they can stand up and go to SADC. And let me tell you, they walk out heroes. Zimbabweans are going to respect them and say, you know what, guys, we are sorry. At least you did it for us. They don't need Chamisa to send them. They can stand up on their own. Any Zimbabwean who wants a better Zimbabwe should take action. You don't have to wait for anybody to tell you, you guys are here, we are having a conversation. You are taking action because you love your country, correct? Yes. All of us, we should stand up because we love Zimbabwe. Not because we are benefiting anything. No, we don't have to benefit something. We have to make sure we build a Zimbabwe that is conducive for everyone. And some people are asking questions. So if you're saying SADC, had a problem with the people that were sent out, if that's whatever that Yopo is saying, he said he had them from SADC. And I was shocked and baffled by the fact that they were talking to Ibo Mandaza, knowing all that Ibo Mandaza was pursuing the same route. I remember that when he sent out a petition saying we need to take it to SADC. Churches, well, Crisis Coalition, Crisis Coalition Zimbabwe, I remember Tatenda, they were pursuing the same route. So why come all of a sudden it's like everything's just Chamisa? Like I said, people were saying he was doing PR for Washman Tendai because now they're feeling bad that they betrayed the struggle. Maybe they think that Chamisa can approach them and say, hey, but I've seen that Chamisa is really pursuing a Zimbabwe solution. I saw by the tweets that are being sent out by Trevor Ncube, who keeps on saying, no, Chamisa is very closer to the doorstep than you ever think, guys. He's very close. The decision that he has made is the perfect decision because it will definitely going to bring us, to unity, like we've always been crying for. We want to unite, So, human rights, they said, why can't SADC send us a list of acceptable candidates they tolerate and are willing to negotiate and communication, language of preference? Ridiculous. Same as giving a list to Chamisa of people to work with to win elections and negotiate with SADC. They must tell us what to do. But like I said, I don't think that's a great submission to adhere to. I really think that there are solutions to the problems, but we must never shy away from the fact that we are enemies to ourselves because we have solutions, because the solutions are within. Because we created the problems. The people that created the problems, if they don't know how to come out, they must just, outsource. Guys, we are stuck here. How can we come out of this mess? Please help us so that we can all walk away in peace. All right? But if they're quiet, people think, oh, everything is okay. So, honestly, some of the submissions were interesting.
And if Nelson Chamisa wants to be president of Zimbabwe, he needs to fix that. Anyone who purports to support him and encourages him to not work with his friends, that person is counterintelligence. Muna tutumane zanu kuti enano separate vanava varwisana. Nelson Chamisa is better and stronger with the team around him. If I were to be asked today by Nelson Commander, I would say, Torah Madara Zawes, work with them, learn to control them. You are the leader. We will always support you. We will always make sure that you run for office as the presidential candidate. Don't allow weak people around you who instill values about how Ningadas will turn power. Do you know that at one point the uncle said, Nelson Nagatombo's Mfunze, because we hope that a president. I don't feel rich, President Chichina and I hope. How about the too popular hope? Mabano gonna turn Zaktora, but I know this here.
Interesting. Okay, so Tino, please go ahead.
Thank you, commentators. Thank you, Angojet. Thank you, Nkoma Opo. Okay. So I'm gonna just be straight on my question. My question might be like in three mode, but that is it's gonna be very short. So my question is, Nkoma Opo, do you think that your criticism on the Nelson Chamisa, is it going to build him or is going to destroy his political career? Then the follow-up question is going to be, when are you still in the talking terms with the Nelson Chamisa? Maybe if it's a yes, maybe you can also maybe tell us maybe when you last spoke to him, if it's that comfortable with you. Yeah, thank you. That is my question.
You want to respond, Daddy Op?
Thank you.
Commentators, is responding because I can't hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. I was saying that one of the things that I've always respected about Nelson Chamisa is when he said to me that some of the things that we engage on, they remain between us. That's why you find that I've been saying some things I can't share, some things I can share. You know, it doesn't help anyone except the regime to know my talking terms with Nelson and when we last spoke and things like that. But what you need to know is that me and Nelson, we are not enemies, we are brothers. Regardless of how it's projected out there by supporters and things like that. No, we are brothers. In fact, when I go around the world and I speak about Zimbabwe, when they ask me about Nelson,
Again, we lost him there.
Did you hope you've gone quiet, right there? I don't know if you're still with us.
All right, so he's saying that he's still in good books with Nelson Chamisa. This was.
I hope he's not received a phone call.
Yeah, it seems because they just gone quiet. Right.
This is why I'm very careful when it comes to relationships, because I think we, both ways, be ZANU-PF or Triple C, we amplify voices so much on social media because when something happens in a twinkle of an eye, we grab it, we run with it. And yet we don't really know what's happening in the background. I also believe that, like I am, all of us, we are not perfect. We make mistakes in life and we're always going to find ways to reconcile, one way or the other. But because these issues, when it comes to the Zimbabwean political space, it is a very sensitive space. People are angry because they want to be out of this mess. They just want peace, So because people are in search of peace, every little thing that happens that seems to be an enemy to the peace they're seeking, then the reaction is going to be extremely bad. But I also think that because we have a society where Zimbabwe has never been a society that promotes communication. It boils down to a culture, This is why relationships fall apart easily, because people don't know how to communicate. It's a simple communication. People just don't know simple issues, like simple. You ask yourself why? Because our culture never taught us to communicate. There's always been that hierarchy thing of saying, oh, a man is a man and a woman is. And you find out that some people their relationship broke down because they just could not communicate properly. Someone used Mamuzu to communicate. They can't say how they feel because they're not used to it. And yet you can speak and say, no, this is how I'm feeling right now, so that the next person knows that, no, it's not really about them, but it's about you. Right now, because we are not a country that is promoting communication, we've promoted vindictive hatred, fights all the time, malice, backbiting, gossip. For that reason, even if someone means well, the way the people will take out that, that submission will be different. He may have meant well by whatever he says online, but because we are desperate and everyone is an enemy, and guys, one thing that breaks my heart is to see any Zimbabwean person as an enemy. Can I tell you, when I came to Johannesburg, that one day I'll tell you the story, because I've told you from my other YouTube channel that is coming up. It's more really about talking about real life. I got help from Zimbabwean guys, 2 guys. They were not family. They were Zimbabweans. That was the Zimbabwe that I knew. Up to today, we are family. I've had people staying in my house, different people than our family members, but to us, they're family. Today, we're still family. My relationship, most of them, I built them through just creating relationships through my brothers and sisters. But how did we get to a point where we actually hate each other? So even if something is so small, it gets to be so big because we are lacking communication. We can't communicate properly. We can't accept that this one is wrong and this one is a bad person, Like people, I can see how they're saying they don't trust his analysis. But like I said, I want to be sober when I deal with this kind of issues. You know, one thing I'm seeing, that I'm feeling is, I think, you know, Hopo is trying to mend the relationship between Chamisa and these guys. But because people are looking at them as sellouts who saw the struggle, really because the actions that happened were extremely bad. I mean, recalling elected members in parliament was the worst that any human being can ever do. For that reason, you know, it's one thing to do something small and people can understand. I think they've done so many things that you know. But this was like a last nail on the coffin. And people are like, it's enough. We can't do this anymore. And I get that very well. Why people are so angry. Guys, the recalling of members of parliament was diabolical, devilish, satanic, wicked. A person who does this kind of thing don't deserve to live, in my opinion. Because you know what? How are you going to live among people? How do you even going to speak to your neighbor? Guys, sometimes we need to call things as they are. What was done? Honestly, I don't know how someone can wake up in the morning and eat and drink, and that was satanic. Like, honestly, like the worst. Chamisa is understanding. That's why he called them, even if they had a terrible history with Chankrai, he still said they're my brothers. But honestly, guys, once bitten, twice bitten, once shy. I'm telling you the truth. Because remember, 1 minute a person messes you up. If they repeat again, it's no longer a mistake. It's becoming a habit. What it means is they no longer respect you. You know what I mean? Yeah. If a person carry on doing something, they've crossed the line. Let me tell you, I've crossed the lines many times, and I understand why people reacted the way they did. Because I crossed the lines, and I have to live with it. I have to take responsibility. If I have to mend, I'll mend the relationship. And sometimes the relationship is unmended. You have to just live with it. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So honestly, I know you are trying to save Moshman Numet and IBT, but the line they crossed was, no, beyond words. Honestly, I know you're trying hard, but unfortunately, people are done. All right. Now that we've pursued the issue of Hopo, I'll give you snips that I thought were very important for you to understand, because you can just see exchanges on Twitter right now or in different social media platforms where people are saying it is enough. But it is so important for me to bring this information so you guys can hear. For those that were not, of course, many people were not on Twitter last night when this was going on. But for those who didn't have an access, you also still more than welcome, if you're on Twitter, to go in there and check by Herald. You should have it, like it was recorded, 6 hours. I think 6 hours, 30 minutes. You can also sit there for, I don't know who's going to be sitting for 6 hours listening to something. Very long. All right, so Mapfumo bashes Wicknell. Let me tell you, many people are alleging, like you've heard Mazibabe Shanduko, that they were offered. No, Mazibabe Shanduko is not alleging, because everyone saw the message. When Wicknell was literally like offering him a car and money. You saw it. But man, the man is so principled. He is like my man. I'm that kind of person. You can't buy me with material stuff. It doesn't move me at all. Cars, money doesn't move me. Do you know, I'd rather sleep on the floor when I have peace in my heart than knowing that I've done someone wrong. It kills me into pieces. So unfortunately, I'm not going to lower my bar for anybody. You bring the car, take it. Take to the poor. They came to me, people, yeah, we'll give you money, whatever. I said, no, you know what you must do. Take it to the poor. I'm not in need. I may be in want, but want I can manage. In need, it's a lie. I have a shelter. I'm drinking water. I have food. So I'm not in need. Try to help those that are in need. I told them straight, I'm not in need. Once I can manage. I don't have to get everything that I want all the time. No, that's not how life is. My parents taught me, you're not just always going to get whatever you want all the time. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. So I'm not buying it. Mapfumo, he went after Wicknell Shiva. He said, I could have been Mbinga Mukanya. Mukanya said that I could have been in Mbinga because I was offered money as well. So the exiled protest musician and government critics Thomas Mapfumo Mukanya is described recent spending and car gifts to artists by Wicknell Shiva as a ZANU-PF project. We all know speculations it's a ZANU-PF project. I cannot confirm or deny, but speculations. I mean, you've heard Kandoro say the same thing. Many people, Ali's dropping tweets all the time and said, this is simply ZANU-PF. But he also said something yesterday, and people said to him, more information, please. But he didn't want to say a lot. But he's saying, and there's something bigger than what you guys think, but people are going to cry. These cars, you see what's going to happen. People are asking, what is it? He said, no, relax, give it time. But many people are going to cry. It's not actually what you guys think. He said there's no cars. It's a game. Time will tell. We're very patient. I love the Zimbabwe that we're living right now. We can have conversations. Yeah, we can have conversations. You can't escape the truth. It's always going to come out. So Zimbabwe has been on a spending spree, gifting ZANU-PF for affiliated musicians and influencers with top-of-the-range vehicles from exquisite car dealership. So it's exquisite car dealership. It belongs to a ZANU-PF person as well, which is reportedly owned. Oh yeah, it's owned by Mnangagwa's sons. Oh really? Okay. All right. This is Newsday. It's Newsday or the Standard. Newsday or the Standard. Let me just confirm. It should be the Standard. But the Standard, Newsday, the offer and offer, paper, because that is for Trevor Ncube and Mnangagwa's son-in-law as well. They own this paper. Wow, that's interesting to hear. All right, so there are people, including artists, that are being spoiled by Chivayo. Mukanya said, we are watching them. It's not Chivayo's money, that's ZANU-PF's money. He's being used to splash money on cars to the party loyalists by a force working in the background. People should not adore him and think that he is wealthy and a hard worker because it's not his money. Mapfumo said he could have been part of the elite class within the ruling party. He was arrested for supporting these people, ZANU-PF, during the War of Liberation, he said. I was incarcerated by the Rhodesian government for singing protest music. That's why I love his musician. You know, he's saying Chimurenga 98. I can drive from here to Zimbabwe playing Chimurenga 98. You know, one day I was in the car with my friend. I think it was like, what? I went to his house and I want him to take me somewhere, but I'm driving my car and I'm putting this song, you know, Marimanzara, and it's on repeat. And my friend was like, this girl is crazy, on repeat. And only I realized, but I could have respected someone. But you know what? When I'm thinking about Zimbabwe, when I'm in the mood of fixing Zimbabwe, I'm in the mood. So, you know, and so that's how much I love Chimurenga 98. I love Mapfumo. I'll die. I love Mapfumo. Trust me, I can cry when I think about Mapfumo and his music. Chimurenga 98. That's what he was singing. You know, somewhere must be free. He could have been part of the elite and sold the struggle, but he didn't. You know what he did? He was thinking about you and me. Said the youth and the young people must leave. Said if I continue supporting these people today, I could be part of the rich elites. You could be calling me Mbinga with farms, properties, and money at the expense of the poor taxpayers. Hear that? However, I choose to stand with the people. We are in these positions to protect people and to represent the rights of citizens. Pre-independence, Mapfumo was imprisoned without charges under the white-dominated Rhodesian regime. He went on to be a fierce opponent and critic of the Mugabe regime, which succeeded it. He was haunted by a Mugabe government and to live in exile in the United States for 2 decades. He returned to Zimbabwe in April 2018 for the first time since 2005 to perform a series of concerts. Mukanya has also rebuked Mnangagwa's regime, which ascended to power through a military-assisted coup. Mapfumo claims returning to Zimbabwe will put his life in danger. But I saw a tweet that was sent out by Nick Mangwana when he said, we had a chat, we spoke with Mukanya, and you know, we reassured him that his life is not in danger, he's safe, he can come to Zimbabwe and he will be happy. And this was Nick Mangwana. So I remember I said to him, we take you by your words. He also mentioned that Zimbabwe is a free country, freedom of speech. I hope it's one thing to say freedom of speech and then on the other hand, you know what I mean? There are people who are worried about my life. And I was laughing, I'm like, guys, am I a dangerous person? When you look at me, am I someone who can hurt the government? Like me? A small little me, honestly, this little angel? Can I even hate the government? I love my government, I love my people, but I just point out wrong. You know what I mean? Wrong and the people are different because wrong can be left, can be dropped. But my love for my people is very, very solid. I love Zimbabweans with all of my heart. So I'll never do anything to mess up with them. Never. I'll never do anything to mess up with them. So that's Mukanya for you. He said, no, the money is not. I mean, many people are saying the money definitely belongs to ZANU-PF. Also, just hearing that the money is coming from the president's son who owns the garage. On his own, honestly, guys, it says a lot. If whatever they are saying is true, it really says a lot. Then there's a story that is circulating that breaks my heart. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I think most people have. It's also now on Twitter. I've seen it going around on Facebook. And of two little girls who were left by their mom and daddy, somewhere. Forget about the kids and they've been staying alone. She says since they were 3 years old. Yo, listen, I don't want to break down. But one thing I want to say to men and women out there, especially guys, you are the young, my brothers and sisters. If you're not ready to have children, please don't. Please don't. You know, I don't know what has got into us as a people, but I'm very intentional in my decisions. I think about consequences of my choices. You know, I personally think. So having children and then dump them and leave these kids living alone, these two girls. What a life. You leave two girls to stay alone. But anyhow, I think I'll be one of the person that says I don't mind to mentor them, just to be their sister. You know, I love people, so I don't mind to be in their life and just watch them growing up and see and guide them as much as I can, as long as I live. You know, make sure that they're close to me. I will do anything in my power to protect their life and their destiny. That's the Zimbabwe we're heading to. We are tired, guys, of seeing our people suffering. It's just too much. I don't know where the parents are, but if the parents can be found, I'd really want to have a chat with them and say, people of God, why you didn't go to the social workers and say, we don't want the kids. You can't just dump them and leave them. And, you know, this young girl is only Form 1. Since she was 3 years old. They've been staying alone. And she raised there. It's heartbreaking. It's sad. I don't know what got into Zimbabwe. I don't know what got into our people. Their actions. Zimbabwe is a small country, man. This is why I'm very much angry with the leadership, especially my members of parliament, my councillors, my sub-book, my chiefs. What is your job? Basa lindire kungokolekta mota nekufamba makapfeka myembe basa renyu nderei kana musingakwanisa kuprotecta vana in the society. Okay, if you can't protect them, why didn't tell the social workers that their kids here were just abandoned by parents? Honestly, I just can't wait for Zimbabwe to be a better country. I would like go back home. I would go from city to city. Every school, I need to make sure I nurture these girls. It's enough. Some girls are literally orphans. Their parents died. No one is there to give them counsel and guidance. What is impact? What are these women? Okay, let me just speak to the Women's League. Mrs. Mutangwa, you are the Minister of Women Affairs, whatever you call it. What is your job? The church. Honestly, I've told you guys that it's time for us to introspect as a Zimbabwean community. Where is the church? Like, Women's League, what is your job? Young people are being pregnanted. Where are the Women's League to protect the girls? To speak to them, to give them guidance, to nurture them. Our country is broken now. Our country is broken. And I'm asking you, let's come together and fix it. We can fix it, yo. We can. Together, you and me, we can. I feel like people are spending too much on focusing on power. Then we can fix our children and really make sure that the society is balanced. Our children are happy. People are living a normal life. When are we going to fix this, guys? When? It really hurts me, Shem. It hurts me. But I've seen a lot of people coming forth, to reach out to them so that they can be of a blessing. And I want to say, respect for people. Even in my phone as well, I've got others who are saying, whatever you guys need, we are there for these girls. And but I'm not the one that is really, I also saw it on Saint. So I'm just kind of pushing everyone who wants to be of a blessing to to the same TV, because he's the one that brought the story up, and he's really working tirelessly. I spoke to him this morning. So if you guys want to be of a blessing, I'm going to drop the number. You can see also the numbers on social media for Send, or you can come through to us. We can share the numbers for Send TV. Go in there and be of a blessing. Guys, let's check in our rural homes. If we see those that are in need or those that are actually struggling, let's stretch the hands. Let's bring the stories up. People on social media will be of a blessing, because we cannot keep losing our young kids because there is no mentorship and support, because we can't do it. Together we can. I don't need to be paid to do so. I tell you, if I don't need a position to do so. I will do anything to make sure I save a life. That's the Zimbabwe that we want, where we think about each other, where we protect one another, where we care for each other. And by the way, the Blue Movement is moving. You can see, you heard that the President Emerson Mnangagwa is moving and thanking people, and because he's in search of the third term. We as a Blue Movement in support of Nelson Chamisa, for those that are also supporting him. If you're ZANU-PF, I love you and I support you. Please come and let's support the Blue Movement. Whatever it takes, let's push and support him, that we have a Zimbabwe that is balanced. I want you to know that, guys, I appreciate you so much for coming through, really. It means a lot to me. I appreciate you so much. And I'll see you a little bit later, because I'm coming back again. And I'm going to tell you in the evening, because I need to drop that video up for my introduction for the other YouTube channel, that we're going to be dealing with the relationships, family matters, all these issues that I'm telling you, I'm going to be dealing with them. I will nail them. Literally, Zimbabwe is going to be a good country. You'll be shocked with what's coming. I'm not going to give up until that country is realized. I believe in the process. I believe in peace, in love, in unity, in success, and that's what we're going to be pursuing. Whether the devil like it or not, it is time, and the time is now. Thank you, guys, and may God bless you, and may God bless Zimbabwe. Bye for now.